Hey, what's going on, guys? How's everybody doing today? So the latest movie that I sat down to watch is called Flavors of Youth. It's a Netflix original, it's an anime, and I guess it was made by the same studio that made a movie that came out a few years ago called Your Name, which I never got a chance to see, but I heard nothing but good things and people were raving like crazy about that movie. So naturally, I kind of went into this movie with a few expectations, and to be honest, it's a very mundane, kind of everyday feeling tone of a film, but at the same token, there's something very oddly endearing about that, and I kind of dug it, despite the fact that there isn't anything really super spectacular happening in the movie. And the movie is an anthology with 3 separate stories that all kind of revolve around what happens in your youth. And the first story is about a kid that's all grown up and he's kind of reminiscing about all the foods he used to have when he was younger and how they're pretty much not available at this point. The second story revolves around a model and her sister and how that model is kind of coping with the fact that she's aging. And the third story is about a dude who's kind of reminiscing about the girl he had a crush on when he was very young. Now, I know I said that a lot of the themes in this movie are mundane, but it's like I said, they are super relatable. The first story about foods that you can't get your hands on that you used to have all the time as a child, I fuck with that story so hard. Because it's almost like listening to a song that you discovered as a child. Like, it just reminds you of a simpler time, and I miss that feeling. The second story is probably the weakest out of the 3 stories in that it's probably the least relatable for me personally, but also the dialogue wasn't really that great for me. I thought it was just kind of meh, and it focused a little more on the present as opposed to flashbacks like the other 2 stories did, so it felt slightly out of place, but I ultimately cared about that story as well because that conveyed very well about how a lot of women are told, or taught I should say, that women's biological clocks are constantly ticking, and that can be kind of detrimental sometimes, but it was still a sweet story and I found it enjoyable. And that last story, just your typical girl that got away type scenario. I'm pretty sure every human being on the planet can get into that. And I'm no expert when it comes to animation, but as far as this movie went, it looked good to me, I guess. One thing I didn't like about the movie is that there's a post-credit scene and it didn't really have to be in a post-credits scenario. Like, they very easily could have just put it at the end of the movie and it would have kind of tied everything nicely together. So I don't know what the creative choice was behind that, but I didn't think it sat right. The absolute best thing about this movie, though, by far, was the music. Now, generally speaking, when music kind of sticks out, it's not always a good thing. It can kind of take you out of a movie. But in this case, I felt like it went out of its way to remind you that you're in the movie. Like, you are these characters in some way, shape, or form. And the entire movie, the music just had this tone of like this childlike innocence, like you're just a sponge trying to soak up everything. Which also, in turn, is what you are doing as an audience member when you're watching a movie. So it was 100% appropriate in my opinion. But anyway, guys, overall, this movie, again, not something super spectacular, but it is so relatable that it's almost impossible to not connect with this movie on some level. So that being said, I think I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. It's worth a watch. It's not very long. It's only about an hour and 15 minutes. And hey, you might get nostalgic about something from your childhood. Who knows? But anyway, guys, those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Have you seen this movie? Have you heard of it? Hop in the comments. Let me know what's up. Other than that, if you like this review, give me a like, subscribe, all the other bullshit that makes the channel look good, and I will catch you guys later.